7.6%. That was the admissions rate in 2019 for the MBA at NYU Stern. This is an incredibly competitive program, and the fact that you're watching this video probably means that you've managed to land an interview. So that's already a great achievement. Congratulations. So you have a lot of material to cover in today's interview prep video. We're going to split this down into 3 chapters. The first one is going to discuss what is NYU's style. The second one is going to discuss what type of questions are asked. And the third one, we're going to look at how to answer those questions in a concise, clear, and convincing manner. At the end of the video, if you feel like you've gotten some value out of this, please hit like and subscribe. We're launching several videos about different MBA programs, and you might be applying to one of those as well. So what is NYU Stern's interview style? The good news is that there aren't many surprises, and their interview is pretty relaxed. You'll be interviewed by Stern admissions staff. The interview is generally very friendly, and it is not blind. So they've had a chance to read all of your applications so far. They've looked at your test scores, your essays, and your letters of recommendation. So they'll know a lot about you. Historically, interviews have been done face-to-face. But since this is 2020 and coronavirus is still around, the interviews will be done remotely through video interview software like Skype or Zoom. Now let's move on to the second chapter and talk about the questions you'll be asked at the interview. You'll be asked 3 types of questions during the interview. The first one is the motivational question. Motivational questions revolve around the reasons why you chose to get an MBA at Stern. So they're going to ask you, for example, why do you want to get an MBA? Why do you want to get an MBA at Stern? Why do you want to get an MBA at Stern now? If you don't know why you want to get an MBA at Stern, what I recommend you do is go onto their website, research their classes, research their professors, see what Stern offers that really matches what you want to do with your career after you leave Stern. Admissions loves talking to applicants who have done their research. The second type of question that admissions will ask is the behavioral question. Admissions is looking for proof of certain behavioral attitudes that you've had in the past, be it during your career or in your personal life. So for example, tell us about a time that you had to deal with an unproductive teammate, or tell us about the toughest challenge you faced in your career. I've written a pretty extensive blog post on how to deal with behavioral questions. I'll leave the link in the description below. The third type of question that you'll face is the probing question. Remember, interviews at NYU Stern are not blind, so admissions has read all of your application, your essays, and your curriculum. So if they picked up on something that really interests them, you have to be ready to fill them in with details. Now that the basics are out of the way, let's talk about how we're going to answer these questions. We're going to break that down into 3 stages: the visual, vocal, and verbal. The visual component, unsurprisingly, is everything that your interviewer can see on you and around you. The vocal component is how you come across, the words coming out of your mouth, how they sound to your interviewer. And the verbal component is what you're saying to the interviewer. And you'll be pleased to know that I did not come up with this myself. All this is based off years of research from psychology professor Albert Mehrabian, who spent all of his career studying how people communicate. And I've got some more good news. To prep for your interview, there's only one way to really get the confidence and calm you need to do well. Practice, practice, and more practice. And Voomer is a great way to practice. Voomer is an online AI-powered platform where you can practice over and over at your own time and at your own pace. Our AI-powered technology allows you to get immediate feedback and improve very quickly. You can start prepping on Voomer for free today. So after you finish watching this video, make sure to go check it out. Let's go back to our 3 V's, and we'll start with visual. So the first thing we're going to work on in visual is your background. You have to be aware of your background in a virtual interview. You don't want a virtual background, and you really don't want to show a cluttered room if you're not going to use just a blank wall like I am. If you have to be at your kitchen table or in your bedroom on your virtual interview, that is fine. Admissions understands that not everybody has access to a nice clean office. The only thing you should really pay attention in your kitchen or bedroom is that your background be organized. They don't want to see a cluttered mess behind you. The second thing you want to be aware of on your virtual interview is your personal appearance. Just pretend that this is a regular face-to-face interview at an office. That means business casual and having your hair more or less in order. Just don't roll out of bed 5 minutes before the interview starts. The third thing is lighting. It's very hard for admissions to make a personal connection with you if you're covered in shadows. So make sure you put some lamps behind your camera so that your face is very well illuminated. Last but not least, when it comes to visual, you want to talk directly into the camera. You don't have to talk into the camera all the time because it really feels a little bit weird. But if you have something particularly important that you want to say, make sure you move up your eyes to where the camera is and you say that looking at the camera and not at the screen. If you're not sure where your camera is, a really easy way to do that is to move your thumb around your screen and you'll find out where the camera is as soon as this happens. Just make sure you do that before the interview and not during the interview. All right, now let's move on to our second V, vocal. The first component in vocal is tone. Nobody wants to listen to somebody who speaks like this all the time. They'll probably go to sleep, and remember, admissions has been listening to people talk all day long, so they're pretty tired too. So make sure you vary your tone up and down to keep admissions engaged with what you're saying. The second component of vocal is pauses. Pauses are a great way to wake up your interviewer and draw them into your conversation. They also help to emphasize certain parts of your answer which really need to be driven home. Just make sure you don't overuse pauses. Once or twice during the length of the entire interview is more than enough. Last but not least, in vocal, we have filler words. Filler words are acceptable up to a certain degree, but many people overuse them. The way to eliminate filler words is for you to record yourself and then play that video back. That way you'll really notice how much you're using filler words. And remember, you can use Voomer to record yourself as many times as you like to get rid of those filler words. All right, we're at our last V, verbal. Remember, this is the actual meaning of the words that you're using when you communicate with your interviewer. We already talked about what type of questions will be asked. So now let's discuss how to structure those answers. Fortunately, there's a really simple way to structure your answers, and that's the CAR method. Context, action, result. You always start with context. And what you're doing here is setting the scene for your interviewer. Place them there. So talk about what the situation was, who were the players involved, and what was not satisfactory about what was going on. Now in action, you want to tell the interviewer what you did to remedy the situation. Not your manager, not your team, not the people that report to you. What you did. Talking about what the team did or what your manager did is a very common mistake. But remember, those people aren't applying for an MBA. You are, and admissions wants to hear about you. In results, guess what you're going to talk about? The results of the actions that you took. Here, it really helps if you bring up data that supports how effective your actions were. Have data on a few of your success stories readily available or memorized, because believe me, it will come in handy. Congratulations, you've learned a lot about interview prep technique today. Now, the only thing that's missing is for you to practice, and then practice a little more. Voomer will help you improve on all these points we discussed and more for free. You can start practicing today. So go to tryvoomer.com and find out how much you can improve your interview skills with our AI-powered platform. If you got some value out of this video, please hit like. Also, make sure to subscribe so that you're up to date with information on all the other MBA programs you might be applying to. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck.